Hello, guys, and welcome to AdWords Hangouts on Air. I'm Paratosh Ved, and today we'll be talking about getting started with your Google AdWords account. So, for all of us who have just started our own businesses or have just created a Google AdWords account, this is a guide which will guide you through how exactly you can set up your account, how you can measure success from your account, etc. Just a reminder, this is an interactive event. So any questions that you guys might have, feel free to post them on our Q&A app and we'll be more than happy to look into it for you. The short agenda for today, we'll be looking at your account structure, understanding key metrics and selecting quality keywords. We'll also go over writing relevant ads, how exactly can we understand account performance, and finally, we look at tracking business goals for success. So let's start with the very first step, which is the overview of an account structure. Now, this is basically what an AdWords account looks like. You have your account at the top, under which you have your campaigns, and inside which you have your ad groups, ads, and keywords. Now, one very frequently asked question which we get is, what exactly is the difference between a campaign and an ad group? Do they have different functionalities? Why at all do they exist in the first place? Now, at a campaign level, you basically get to decide your budget and the location that you want to target. So let's look at an example in this scenario. Let's say I'm selling furniture and I have an uptown and a downtown store. For sake of simplicity, let's call it store X and store Y. Now, let's say that store X is catering to a location where I'm not facing a lot of competition, and store Y is catering to a location where the competition is slightly higher. Now, what will happen is for store X, because competition is low, maybe I'll say that a daily budget of around $20 a day is good enough for me to show my ads often and good enough for me to, be at par with my competition. So store X is targeting a different location. Let's say it's targeting New York and it has a daily budget of $20 a day. Store Y, on the other hand, is, let's say, targeting Chicago. And because the competition there is very high, you end up spending $50 a day. So two campaigns. One campaign has a different location and a different budget, so does the other one. So at the campaign level, you get to decide these two things. Now, inside this campaign, you have your ad groups, which has your ads and keywords. Now, if you can see the screen, we have an ad group for tables, beds, armchairs, and couches. The reason why ad groups exist in the first place is to ensure that we are putting the right ad in front of the right people. Now, why we say that is because any keyword in an ad group can trigger any ad. Now let's imagine a situation wherein there weren't these four ad groups on the screen and there was just the one ad group. And this one ad group had ads and keywords for tables, beds, armchairs, and couches. Now what could have happened in that scenario is, imagine going to google.com and doing a Google search with the word buy beds online and ending up seeing an ad for buying tables. Not only is it irrelevant, but the chance of you clicking on it is also very low. So if you have different ad groups, with one ad group being specific to a given business vertical or to a given service, the relevant ads will show for the relevant keywords. So that is why we always recommend that try to split down your business model, try to split your products into as many ad groups as possible. So we have AdWords account on the top, campaigns, which decide the locations and the budget, inside which we have ad groups, which are vertical specific. And inside these ad groups, we have your ads and keywords. Might seem a little overwhelming for now, but trust me, once you start running an AdWords account, you will get a hang of it really, really soon. Next up are your keywords. Now, what exactly are your keywords? Keywords are these words or phrases which you choose that can trigger an ad to show on search in other websites. So let's say that you're selling sofas online, and you would really love for your ad to show for a query like sectional sofa or for a query like sectional couch. So similarly, you will just go into your AdWords account and add a keyword along the same lines. And whenever people punch in that word on a query in Google, they'll end up seeing your ads. How exactly would you add your keywords? A very simple tip. Try to put yourself in the shoes of your customer. Look at how exactly would they find businesses or services like you online. And whatever comes to your mind, add them as keywords. Also, there is a keyword planner tool, which you can look at for getting you more keyword ideas. Next up is selecting bids for keywords. Now, how Google AdWords works is you bid for every keyword that you have in your AdWords account. And the bid, you only tell the system the maximum amount you're willing to pay. So let's say that I have a keyword and I feel that given the amount of competition that keyword is facing, I'm happy paying as much as maybe $2 per click. Now, this $2 is the maximum amount that you can pay. System will never overcharge you, but based on the amount of competition you face, amount of bids the competition has, you might end up paying much lesser than that to beat your competition, as it shows in the next slide over here. So let's say that your bid is $2 and the person who's coming on the second position is bidding $1. Because of you having a higher bid and maybe probably a better high quality score, you will end up beating the competition. But if your competitor is only paying $1, maybe you'll end up paying $1.10 or $1.15 to beat him. So always keep in mind that the maximum CPC bids that you set are only there in place to ensure that you get your ads placed more frequently and get your ads placed at a better position. But the amount that you end up paying will always, or in most occasions, be end up being a little lesser than what your maximum CPC is. Now let's look at the account structure in the AdWords interface. So as you can see here, we have your keywords, which you have in a particular ad group. In this case, the ad group is a tables ad group. We have the status, whether they're eligible or not, and the maximum CPC that you've put in. The rest of the metrics we'll cover in the next couple of slides, which is now understanding key metrics. So first thing is your impressions. Now, whenever your ad shows up to someone in a Google search result or on the Google display network, that is known as an impression. So if let's say you were to go to Google search right now, and if you were to order cupcakes online, any ad that you would see would count as an impression for that particular AdWords advertiser. Now, the moment you like those ads and end up clicking on those ads, that results in the form of a click. So if people see your ad and they don't take any action, that's only counted as an impression and you're never charged for them. If, however, they click on your ad, it immediately gets counted as a click, and that is what you're charged for. Next up is your CTR. Simply said, your CTR is basically clicks divided by your impressions. Now, one very frequently asked question which we get here is, what is a good CTR? Now, given the fact that an AdWords account, one person might be in a different business vertical, maybe people are targeting their ads in different locations. So of course, this number will vary, but having a CTR of 1% is actually a very good number, because come to think of it, every time your ads are showing, there are multiple other ads showing also. And there are 100,000 searches happening on Google every single day. So having a CTR of 1% is actually good. But at the same time, if you feel that something needs to be done to pull up your CTR, we have a couple of other metrics you can concentrate on, which we'll be covering in the next set of slides. Coming back to your AdWords interface, as you can see here, we have a clicks, impressions, and CTR column. So for every keyword present in your AdWords account or in your particular ad groups, you will come to know as to how many clicks they are getting, the amount of impressions they are taking to get as many clicks, and what the CTR is. And the best part is, so in the example on the screen right now, these keywords all seem to be a little different from each other. But in instances where you're trying to carry out a test to check as to which keyword is performing better, you can have the keywords running together in the AdWords account. Maybe let's say you run them for like a month. And maybe in a month's time, you will see that certain keywords have a better CTR or more impressions or more clicks. Based on what your priority is, maybe priority is to brand yourself as a business. In that case, you would leave those keywords running which have a high number of impressions. Maybe your priority is to get people to come onto your website. In that case, your keywords which have gotten high number of clicks is what you'll keep enabled, and maybe you'll pause the ones which aren't getting you that many number of clicks. If on the other hand, you believe that your CTR is what your goal is, which is you're trying to get as many clicks on ads which are showing, then you will basically keep those keywords enabled, which have a high amount of CTR, and maybe create more keywords like those. Now, a very important point, which is selecting quality keywords. Let's start by looking at the example on our screens now. Let's say that I were a bakery. Now, if I were a bakery, there is a very great chance that one of my keywords would have been the word cake. It makes absolute sense because that is what I'm selling at the end of the day. But now, what can happen in this scenario is, if people go to Google and they do a Google search with the word cake recipes, it might end up triggering our ad. Now, why exactly is that not entirely relevant for us? The reason being that if people are trying to bake a cake on their own, they might not need a bakery in the first place. So your ad showing for a query like cake recipes might not be that relevant. Similarly, if you're a flower shop, it's very much possible that one of your keywords are the word flowers. And if people go to Google and do a search with the word flower girl dress, your ad might end up getting triggered, but again, might not be entirely relevant. Same applies to the third example also. Now, let's just take a moment here and go from this slide, which talks about the three businesses, and come to the next one, which has your bakery, flower shop, and yoga studio. If I'm a bakery, having a keyword like custom cake makes way more sense, because if I want a cake to be customized, then only would I come to a bakery. Similarly, if I'm a flower shop, having a keyword like flower delivery makes more sense, because that will trigger your ad for queries like Valentine's flower delivery or birthday flower delivery or just flower delivery alone. Similarly, if I'm a yoga studio, having a keyword like yoga class makes way more sense than having a keyword like yoga, because people looking for a yoga class online will end up finding you with this particular keyword. Now let's move on to various keyword match types. Another very interesting topic which we come across. Now the scope of Google AdWords is such that we want to give the user as much chance of optimizing his account based on what his initial goals are. Now there are 4 keyword match types which we'll discuss one by one. The very first match type is broad match. Now simply said, broad match keywords are the ones which would include your misspellings, synonyms, related searches, and other variations. So let's say that my keyword is women's hats. I'm a retailer and I'm selling hats for women online. Now, if my keyword is women's hats, system is very much going to be able to use the word synonym for women, which is ladies, and end up triggering an ad for a query like ladies hats. At the same time, the word hats can also have synonyms like, let's say, caps. And if my keyword were to be women's hats, and if this keyword were present in broad match, my ad would also end up getting triggered for a query like ladies caps. So broad match is basically, when you're the kind of business where you know that there are multiple variations possible, and you're happy with your ad showing for as many queries, mostly from a branding point of view, that's when your broad match keywords would come in. Next up are your broad match modifiers. Basically, as you see here, the only difference between the previous slide and this slide is that we've added those mathematical plus signs before the 2 words or your modifiers. Now, how broad match modifiers work is they will trigger an ad for any query on Google which has the same words which had a plus sign before them in your AdWords account. So in my AdWords account, if I have a word plus women's plus hats, system will have to ensure that a person searching on Google is typing in the word women and the hats together. The reason why we do that is because in the previous example, it was more from a branding standpoint, but could have also triggered an ad on certain occasions for queries which might not have been exactly 100% relevant to us. But in this particular scenario, we are being very specific. So we are only triggering our ads if someone is searching for women's hats online, not if they're looking for women's cats or men's hats, etc. Just a heads up here, any word you add a plus sign before, it will become mandatory for those words to be present in a query on Google. So avoid putting plus sign before any articles or prepositions, because if you are putting in those articles and prepositions and people doing on Google search aren't exactly putting those words in, the ad might not end up getting triggered. So only put plus sign before any critical words or words that are critical to your business model. Slightly more specific is your phrase match. Simply said, a phrase match keyword will trigger an ad for a particular phrase or a close variation of that phrase. Now, when we say that, what we basically mean is, as you can see here, the keyword women's hats is present inside quotation marks. Now, what this basically means is that this will trigger my ad on Google only if a person's query on Google is having these 2 words and having these 2 words in the same sequence. So if it's women's hats, any query which has the words buy women hats or women hats online or women hats for sale will end up triggering the ad. And why will it do that? Because these 2 words are together, and the word women is always first and the word hats comes second. But if I were to go to Google and do a search of the word buy hats for women, now because the sequence is changed here, the ad will not end up getting triggered. So in broad match modifier, the ad would end up getting triggered because system only cares about ensuring that the words in the keyword are present in the search query. But in this scenario, system also cares about the sequence in which the words are being worded. So if you're the kind of business wherein, let's say, you have product numbers or you have a product code with which you expect people to search on Google, that is where your phrase match keywords come in. And then finally, we have exact match keywords. As the name says, it will trigger your ad on Google if a query is exactly similar to what your keywords are. So a query like women's hats will only trigger an ad for if someone goes to Google and types women's hats, then only will the keyword women's hats trigger an ad. If I go to Google and type women's hats online or women hats for sale, the ad will not end up getting triggered. So exact match will try to basically look at your keyword and matching it exactly with the query in Google. If it matches, the ad ends up getting triggered. If it doesn't, the ad will not end up getting triggered. Again, exact match comes into the picture when you're trying to sort of be very, very specific and you know that there are only certain ways for people to find you online. Sometimes brands, which let's say are trying to get their ads to show if people put in a brand's name, that is where your exact match keyword would also come in. Perfect. No questions as of now, but like I said, it's an interactive session. So any questions or doubts or queries that you guys might have, feel free to post them on our Q&A app and we'll be more than happy to look into it for you. Next up is writing relevant ads. Now, here are the few components of a Google AdWords ad. As you can see here, we have your headline, which is the very first thing people see. Every ad has 2 lines of description along with your display URLs and your final URL. Now, there is it's very important that there is some sort of relevancy involved between your ad text and your keywords, because then only will there be a connect between what a person is searching for on Google and the results that he's getting. So try always ensuring that, whatever the keywords are that we have in our accounts, which would trigger your ads on Google, those keywords are sort of present in the text of the ad. Now, once we've understood what the various components of the ad are, now let's look at an example here. So let's observe this example very carefully. The headline says high quality furniture. Description line 1 says wide selection of furniture, traditional and modern styles, example.com. Now let's assume that in this particular scenario, the particular person on Google is actually advertising not his entire furniture business, but maybe a specific item. If you now move over to the next slide, let's say that this person was selling armchairs. Rather than saying high quality furniture, he is saying high quality armchairs. So rather than people seeing an ad which says high quality furniture, they see an ad which is promoting the exact product that they were looking for. Rather than saying wide selection of furniture, the ad says wide selection of fabrics. So not only are you telling me that this ad will ideally lead me to a page which talks about the product I'm looking for, it also gives me a little bit of insight into what kind of products is it that you're selling, what attributes are there to it. Finally, if you observe the final URL, in the previous instance, we were taking people to the home page. In this instance, we are taking people to a page which has exactly that product on it. Now, again, look at it from the perspective of you being a buyer. If you were to be buying furniture online, and let's say that you were land onto a home page from where you'd have to navigate through and find the particular product, versus you directly being led to a page which shows you the various models available in that category, that would be much, much better for you. So similarly, for the perspective of your clients or your potential customers, try to always ensure that your ad is specific and relevant to your keywords, and your ad takes people to a page which is very much relevant to what they're searching for. Here's an example for us to look at. So let's say if my search query is leather armchair, if I want my ad to trigger for a query like leather armchair, my relevant keyword could be leather armchair and broad match modifier, those plus signs basically being your broad match modifier keyword. And the relevant ad in this case will say high quality armchairs. So as you can see, we have a keyword which is there in place exactly to trigger the query. System, because it's in broad match modifier, system will not look at the sequence. It will just try to ensure that these 3 words are present together in a query on Google, which means system is very, very sure that people are exactly looking for a business like yours. Finally, the very first thing which a person sees is the words high quality armchairs. He was looking for an armchair and he sees an ad for the same, very high chance of him clicking on your ad. So always use this example when writing your keywords and your ads. A small tip, have at least 2 ads in one ad group. Why exactly do we see that? Why exactly do we say that, sorry? It's because from your point of view, you're never really sure as to what exactly will get people to click on an ad. Maybe one ad can say book online, maybe one ad can say order now. There are various ways of conveying the same message across to people. And until unless we don't have more than one ad copy running, giving across the same message but in differently worded text, we won't be able to find out as to what will really get you more people to click on your ads, what will get you more conversions, etc. So always try to have 2 or 3 odd ads inside an ad group. Let every ad convey the same message. Let every ad tell people the same thing, but let's try wording it in different words. What you can then do is let these ads run together for, let's say, a span of a month, and you will observe that certain ads are performing better in terms of clicks and impressions, and certain ads aren't. And accordingly, you can let those ads run in the long run, which have performed better for you, and pause the ones with which you feel that there is more scope for optimization. Another friendly tip, you can always consider targeting mobile customers. So in your Google AdWords account, you also have the concept of creating mobile copies of all your ads. So if you feel that you're the kind of business wherein people would be looking for you while on the move, or you have a business app, let's say, then you can certainly have your mobile ads also, which basically will show exactly on a mobile device. It ensures that the ad is well structured, and the chances of 10 people clicking on the ad is much higher also. Now let's move on to the fifth topic here, which is using tools to improve performance. So far we have looked at your Google AdWords account to understand as to what the account structure looks like, how exactly would you go around making your keywords and your ads, and various metrics you look at in the account. Now we'll look at certain things which will basically be pointers for us or provide us actionable insights into how well the account is performing. Now, one first thing is your quality score. Simply said, quality score is an estimate of the quality of your ads and landing pages triggered by that keyword. Now, what exactly do we mean by that? Is that based on the kind of keywords that you have, there should be some sort of a synergy or some sort of a link between your keywords and your ads. As you saw in the examples previously, rather than having an ad which says high quality furniture, the ad should say high quality tables or high quality chairs. So if there is some sort of relevancy between your keywords and your ads, then that basically improves the quality of that particular keyword, because it's delivering an ad which people would like to see. Similarly, if after clicking on the ad, I am being led to a specific page, which is a product page, as opposed to the home page, that again improves the quality of the keyword, because that keyword is triggering the right ad and taking people to the correct location on your website. These are the three factors which basically influence or determine your quality score. First is expected click-through rate. Basically, every time you create your keywords and your ads, and you have those landing pages for your ads also, system does a rough calculation as to how relevant are the keywords to the ads and the ads to the landing pages. And based on that, it gives you a rough sketch of what your expected CTR will be like. So based on expected CTR, you will know how good is the quality score of that keyword. Second is ad relevancy, as explained previously. Try ensuring that whatever keywords you have are in some form or fashion either present or represented in your ad text. We should not have keywords like furniture, business, etc., and have ad which says armchairs, tables, etc. Finally is landing page experience. Try ensuring that you're taking people to a page which talks exactly about that product or adds some sort of value which they would have expected after they clicked on the ad. So if you take care of your ad relevance, and if you take care of your landing page experience, basically saying that if you make your keywords relevant to your ads and have the ad text being relevant to the landing pages, your expected click-through rate will also go up. So this is one factor that you can look at to optimizing account performance. Second is ad rank. So basically, we use ad rank to determine whose ads will appear and in what order on that page. So very interesting as to how exactly the system goes about this. And let's actually look at an example. So let's say that there were two people who are bidding for the same keyword in the market. Let's say that you are bidding $2 for that keyword and your quality score is 8. Now, just a heads up, quality score is always assigned at a keyword level. So that particular keyword has a bid of $2 and the quality score is 8. Your overall score becomes 2 times 8 equals 16. Now, let's say that your competition, on the other hand, is bidding $4 for that very same keyword. And let's say that their quality score is only 3. So their overall score becomes 4 times 3 equals 12. So as you can see here, your competition is bidding twice as much as you are, but his overall score is still lesser than yours because of quality score being an equalizer. So what will happen in this case is, because your overall score with your cost per click and your quality score put together is higher than your competitors, you'll always end up beating them unless they increase their budget further or unless they can improve their quality score. So whenever you're trying to ensure that your rank on Google search improves or that your ads show up more often, always try to work towards your maximum cost per click, and more importantly, also try working towards your quality score. Now is the ads position. So basically, when we talk about ads position, we are basically deciding as to where exactly will your ads show online. Now, there are two platforms. One is the Google Search Network, So basically, if you're going on Google search right now, and if we are doing a Google search for a query, whatever ads we see are basically being shown on the Google search network. If on the other hand, you, let's say, are reading a news blog or you're reading an article online on a different website and you end up seeing an ad, that basically is the Google display network. So it's a host of, Google partner sites, YouTube, Gmail, etc., where these ads might show. So basically we have search and display, where you can yourself decide to target your ads. Now, next up is negative keywords. So just like we have the concept of certain words known as keywords for which you would like to trigger your ads, there are certain words which are called negative keywords. Simply said, negative keywords are those queries for which you would like your ad to never show on Google search. So let's look at the simplest example we see. Let's say that you're a high-end watch store. So basically you're selling watches which are, let's say, little highly priced and pretty coming in from the high-end brands. Now, in this scenario, it's very much possible that we can end up having a keyword like gold watch. Now, if people go on Google and do a Google search with the word cheap gold watch, even if the keyword gold watch is in phrase match or broad match modifier, or even if it is in broad match, it'll end up triggering your ad for a query like cheap gold watch, which will not be relevant because you're a high-end watch store in the first place. What will you do in this scenario? Simply take the word cheap and add that as a negative keyword. So next time what happens is, next time person is searching on Google and if they put in the word cheap gold watch, because the word cheap is a negative keyword, your ad will not end up getting triggered. Similarly, try finding more of these queries which are irrelevant to you but still have the potential of triggering your ad, and add those as negative keywords. One very important tool. So inside your AdWords interface, there is something known as a search terms report. If you go into your keywords page and hover over the interface, you will see that there is a button called the search terms report. Now, what the search terms report basically does is it has a list of every single query on Google which has triggered your ad. So the advice would be to sort of create a Google AdWords account while ensuring that you have the relevant keywords and the relevant keyword match type. Let the ads run for maybe a week and then go and explore your search terms report. If you find that your ads have only triggered for queries that are relevant to you, then absolutely good to go. But if you feel that maybe some queries should not have triggered in the first place, try finding out the specific word in that query which caused the ad to be triggered but was still irrelevant, and add those words as negative keywords. Just an overview of an account structure like we discussed initially. So we have an AdWords account at the top, which is basically where all your Google AdWords advertising happen. Inside that, you have your campaigns, which have your budget and your locations, inside which you have your ad groups, which are specific to a vertical, specific to a service. Again, it's not mandatory to have multiple ad groups, but because quality score is important and it's always important to show the right ad to the right people, have as many ad groups as possible. And inside your ad groups, you have your ads and your keywords. No questions yet, but like I said, any questions, feel free to post them on our Q&A app and we'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Finally, let's move on to the final step, which is tracking business goals for success. Now, on that note, we have a question from Stephanie. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for your question. So Stephanie says, how long usually does a Google AdWords campaign reflect engagements take? How frequently should I adjust the keywords? 1 week? How long does Google AdWords campaign last? Okay, couple of questions here. Let's break them down one by one. So the first part of the question says, how long usually does Google AdWords campaign reflect engagements take? So I think you're referring in the scenario to how much time does the Google AdWords campaign take to start showing you activity in your account? Simply said, the moment you create your campaign, when I say campaign, I basically refer to your keywords and ads. You have to wait for the ads to get approved. We generally say that system takes around 24 to 48 hours, but usually within 45 minutes to an hour also, because the system has gotten much faster in the last couple of days. Maybe let's say 45 minutes to an hour after you create an ad, it ends up getting approved, and then the ads start going live the moment people search for you on Google. So the moment your ads are created and they have been approved, they will start going on Google search. And if you then come back and maybe refresh your interface in 5 to 6 hours, you'll know as to how many engagements they've had in terms of the number of times they've shown, which are your impressions, and the number of times they've gotten clicks on the ads. And of course, you can accordingly calculate your CTR also, which will be present in the column. The second part of your question was, how frequently should I adjust the keywords? Now, it actually depends based on the amount of competition that you're facing. So when you talk about adjusting your keywords, if you work in a very dynamic business wherein there's a lot of competition that you're facing, and your competitors are very frequently, let's say, pushing out new products, or they're very frequently modifying their ads, etc., in that case, I would recommend that probably have a span of 3 to 4 odd days, after which you can go ahead and modify your keywords. But if you are a business wherein you can sort of take your own time, it's the ideal amount of time is always around 2 to 3 odd weeks, because we might create an AdWords account today and one particular keyword might perform really well, but maybe in the long run it won't. So, all things staying constant, try to run an AdWords account and not make any changes for 2 to 3 weeks. Then only will you get to know whether a particular keyword or a particular ad is performing well for you or not. So my answer finally would be, give it 2 3 weeks time and then make a judgment call whether a keyword has to stay or it needs to go, or you need to add more keywords. Finally, how long does a Google AdWords campaign last? That is entirely up to you. So when you create a Google AdWords campaign, you can either give the campaign an end date. So basically, if you start a campaign on the 1st of March, you can yourself decide that the campaign automatically ends on the 31st of March. On the other hand, you can just run a Google AdWords campaign without giving it an end date. And the moment you feel that that particular campaign has gotten you all the revenue that you wanted, or maybe it was a seasonal campaign, just go ahead and pause the campaign yourself and it'll stop running. But there is no time limit for which the campaign will run. If you, let's say, create a campaign today and you let it run for the next couple of years, it will keep running. I hope, Stephanie, that answers all your questions. If you have any follow-up, just post them and we'll be more than happy to look into it for you. Let's moving on now to tracking goals, tracking business goals for success. Now, a couple of things here. One very important question which people ask us, and one thing which we would also like the advertisers to ask themselves is, how do I know if it's working for me? Now, there's this concept of return on investment, which is basically figuring out whether am I getting enough returns from my Google AdWords account. And second concept is conversions. Conversions is a concept which we'll cover in the next couple of slides. It's an AdWords metric. Return on investment, simply said, is, are you getting enough returns on your investment or not? Now, first of all, let's look at what exactly do we mean by conversions. Now, simply said, conversions refer to people who have come onto your website and taken a desirable action. Now, when I say desirable action, if you're selling products, me coming to your website and buying a product is basically a conversion for you. If, let's say, you're a blog and you would love for people to read the kind of articles you put out, maybe them signing up for a newsletter is a conversion for you. If you're delivering something and you feel that people should give you a phone call and place orders, that would also be a conversion for you. So we allow you to define what a conversion is for you, but anything which you think is a desirable action, that gets tracked in the form of conversions, which you can then measure. Now, when you measure your conversions, you can find out basically how many clicks your keywords have gotten in total, the amount of impressions they took for the same, the cost they incurred, and the conversions they got you. So then you can do a cost benefit analysis to figure out the money that you spent and the returns from that. And how exactly would you do that? With this feature called AdWords Conversion Tracking. It's a free tool that will help you measure this for your Google AdWords account, which we'll cover now. So basically, let's look at an example to begin with here. So let's say that you were selling products on Google and the cost of procuring every product was $100 each, which basically meant that you already spent $600 on making those 6 products. Now let's say that the selling price of these products is £200 each. So if you're able to sell these 6 products, the revenue that you would get is $1,200. Now, let's say you end up selling all these 6 products from a Google AdWords campaign and you spend, let's say, another $200 on Google AdWords in terms of clicks to sell these products. So you've now come at a point wherein we had already spent $600, we spent $200 more on advertising, and we end up getting revenue for $1,200. Our overall net profit from Google AdWords in this case is $400. This, just like I said, is just a rough sketch based on how different things are involved in your business. You can accordingly modify this formula, but this is one way of how you can figure out your costs totally in terms of procuring the product, making the product, and selling the product versus the selling price. So AdWords does help you in counting your return on investment. How exactly does it do that? So we basically place something known as a conversion tracking code on your thank you pages. So the moment a person comes to your website and ends up buying a product, this particular code fires and it tells the system that a person has bought a product. Now, how exactly does it help you? Every time a conversion tracking code is fired, system knows as to which keyword resulted in a person buying that product, which ads in your AdWords account ended up in a person coming to your website and buying that product. So not only will you get to know as to how much of revenue you are making, but you also find out your keywords and ads are performing really, really well for you. In the long run, it's always better to have the keywords which are getting you more conversions. Let them be in the account, let them keep running. If certain keywords are not really working that well for you, you can pause them and create more keywords. Similarly, as far as ads are concerned, you have 2 to 3 ad copies. Maybe one ad copy has gotten a lot of conversions and the other two have not really done that. You can simply just pause those two and create maybe one more ad which is sort of relevant or similarly to along the lines of the other ad, which had gotten you more conversions in the past. And basically it helps you spend your budget more wisely, because if you know which keywords and which ads are working really best for you, you'll know which keywords and ads to run in the long run. One more important thing that you can do in your Google AdWords account is tracking phone calls as conversions. So basically, if you've used call extensions, basically, along with the Google AdWords ad, you can also show people your business phone number. Now, if let's say that you're the kind of business wherein it's more important for people to give you a call than it is for them to come visit your website, you can basically track them in the form of Google forwarding number. So basically what will happen is, when your Google AdWords ad shows, along with the ad, we will show something known as a Google forwarding number. If people were to dial this number on their, let's say, cell phone screen and give it a call, the call will get connected to you, but because it's coming in through a Google forwarding number, we will know that someone has seen a Google AdWords ad and has then called you. So basically, in your AdWords account, if we were earlier reporting conversions as in keyword X led me to 3 purchases, now we'll see that keyword X has resulted in me getting 3 phone calls. So if you're trying to get as many phone calls as possible, having call extensions and tracking them via a Google forwarding number is definitely a way to go. No more questions. Very welcome, Stephanie. I'm glad we could answer your questions for you. Like I said, any further questions that you guys might have, feel free to post them. Just a small recap of what we've discussed today. These things are not mandatory, which you see on the screen, but they're highly recommended because we have seen that they are driving better account performance. Have at least 2 ad groups. Basically, try to always ensure that if there are 3 verticals, there are 3 ad groups over there. Try having at least 2 ads per ad group so you can test and see which ones are performing better. Try having at least 5 quality keywords per ad group so that you are giving people a chance to see your ads for any relevant query. At the same time, had at least 5 quality negative keywords. So if people can find your businesses with certain queries that are not relevant to you, that can be avoided. Check the search terms report weekly because you won't like the fact that maybe for 2 weeks at a stretch you have gotten a lot of irrelevant queries triggering your ads in Google. So as far as your keywords and ads are concerned, try doing it for 2 to 3 weeks, but search terms report, do it every week. And finally, track business goals as conversions to get an idea of your returns on investment. On that note, another question from Stephanie. Thank you so much for that. It says, if conversion is purchasing a ticket, how can I track this conversion? Is from Google AdWords on my website. Is there any pixel? Absolutely, Stephanie. So basically how conversion tracking works is, there's a specific conversion tracking code which you get in your AdWords account. Now, the moment you place this conversion tracking code onto the source code of your thank you page, what will happen is a person will, let's say, do a Google search, and let's say he does a Google search with the words buy tickets online. He ends up coming onto your Google AdWords. He ends up seeing your ad, and then he clicks on it. Once on your website, he navigates through, and let's say he ends up buying a ticket. He punches in his credit card details and he hits enter, and he lands on a page which said, thank you for buying your ticket. Now, if that particular page has a conversion tracking pixel or a conversion tracking code, it will get tracked as a conversion for you. And since the system knew that this person was coming in from a Google AdWords ad, it will get recorded as well. So absolutely correct, system, because of a conversion tracking code or a conversion tracking pixel, system will know that it has indeed come in from your Google AdWords account. And it's actually very simple to set up also. Just have to simply go to the conversions tab in your AdWords account. Or what I would recommend is, seeing as you are looking to track conversions, just give us a call on our helpline and we'll be more than happy to help you set this up in your account and also guide you through where exactly the correct conversion tracking code or conversion tracking pixel will come from. And we can also tell you where exactly to place this pixel so that you track only when people reach the right page and you know which keywords and which ads have triggered your queries for you. I hope that answers your question. What's next are a couple of AdWords resources. So, you can give us a call or chat in with us or drop us an email. Additionally, you can even write to us on Twitter and ask us any question that you guys might have. We'll be more than happy to help you out. We hope this session was helpful for you, and we genuinely wish you all the very best. We're always there to help. So let us know if anything comes up, and we'll work together towards making Google AdWords work for you. Thank you so much, guys.